The rain had been falling steadily all morning, painting the streets of downtown Philadelphia in glistening shades of gray. Pedestrians rushed past under umbrellas, trying to escape the cold drizzle. But at the edge of a crowded sidewalk, just outside a fogged-up bus stop, one man sat completely still, dressed in full military uniform, his chest lined with medals earned in blood and fire. Jack O'Toole remained in his wheelchair, eyes locked on something across the street. Behind him stood his longtime friend, Silas Drift, weathered and grizzled, watching with quiet concern. Across the slick pavement, a German shepherd stood half-hidden under the shelter, soaked to the bone, ribs visible beneath its matted fur. The dog's eyes were sharp, too sharp for a stray. Jack didn't blink. He leaned forward slightly, his hand slowly lifting, palm open. Silas shifted uncomfortably. "Jack," he muttered. "It's just some mangy stray. Come on, let's get out of this rain." But Jack didn't move. His heart had started pounding in his ears, drowning out the world. Something in that dog's eyes pulled him back in time. He saw it all again. The explosions, the blinding sandstorm, the bloodied vest of his military dog, Sam, as he disappeared behind enemy fire. They'd called Sam Kia, but Jack never believed it. Not really. And now, here, after all these years, was a dog with the same limp, the same stare. "Sam," Jack whispered, barely audible. The dog froze. For a moment, nothing moved. The city kept buzzing, cars passed. But between the man and the dog, the world went silent. Then the shepherd took one cautious step forward. Then another. The look in his eyes changed: recognition, hesitation, emotion. Rain dripped off his muzzle as he approached, lowering his head submissively, tail slightly wagging. Jack extended his hand further, his fingers trembling. "Is it really you?" The shepherd inched closer, then pressed his wet nose gently into Jack's palm. Jack's breath caught in his throat. He hadn't cried in years, not after losing Sam, not even after losing the ability to walk. But now tears stung his eyes. Silas stared, dumbfounded. "Jack, that can't be him. That's impossible." But Jack already knew. The dog resting his head on his lap wasn't a ghost. It was Sam, his partner, his brother, his lifeline during war. The shepherd let out a soft whimper, his eyes full of longing and memory. Jack rested his hand on the dog's head and closed his eyes. "You came back," he whispered. "After all this time, you found me." And in that moment, nothing else mattered. Silas couldn't stop staring. The old shepherd was still pressed close to Jack's lap, like he belonged there, like he had never left. "Jesus, Jack," he muttered under his breath. "This doesn't make sense." Jack didn't answer. His fingers moved slowly over the dog's soaked fur, tracing scars and ridges that weren't there before. Sam had changed, older, thinner, worn down by years alone. But Jack knew. Deep in his bones, he knew this dog. No microchip or DNA test would ever mean more than this moment. The rain continued to fall, soft and steady, as if the city itself was holding its breath. Sam shifted slightly, resting more of his weight against Jack's legs. His breathing was shallow, uneven. Jack felt it immediately. "He's weak," he said, finally breaking the silence. Silas nodded grimly. "He won't last long out here, not in this condition." Without another word, Jack motioned for Silas to grab the emergency blanket from his backpack. Silas hesitated. Years of hard survival had taught him to doubt everything, but the look in Jack's eyes left no room for argument. Wrapping Sam carefully in the blanket, Jack cradled the dog's head as if he were made of glass. "We've got to get him to Dr. Halvorsen. She still runs that clinic down on 18th, right?" Silas blinked. "You think she's still there?" Jack nodded, firm. "She's the only one I trust." Silas grunted in agreement and began pushing the wheelchair, weaving between puddles as Jack held Sam tight. People on the sidewalk glanced their way, some pausing at the sight of the uniform, the dog, the urgency, but most just kept walking. As they moved through the city, Jack's mind raced. How had Sam survived? Who had he been with all this time? Had someone found him? Hurt him? Abandoned him? Each thought was heavier than the last. Jack remembered the mission, the ambush, the screaming, the smoke, and the moment he lost sight of Sam. He'd blamed himself every single day. For letting go, for not going back, for surviving without him. And now fate had dragged the past right back into his arms. By the time they reached the corner clinic, Sam was barely conscious. His body trembled with every breath. Jack clutched him tighter as Silas pounded on the glass. Inside, the lights flicked on. A shadow moved. The door opened. A woman in her early 60s, wearing faded scrubs and tired eyes, stepped out. "Jack O'Toole?" she said, surprised. "Where the hell did you find him?" Jack didn't look up. His voice cracked as he whispered, "I didn't. He found me." Dr. Evelyn Halvorson wasted no time. The moment Jack crossed the threshold with Sam wrapped in the emergency blanket, she was already clearing a metal exam table, snapping on gloves. "Put him here. Gently," she instructed, her voice calm but urgent. Silas helped position the weak dog as Jack stroked Sam's head, whispering softly. The shepherd didn't protest. He was too exhausted, his body limp, eyes half closed. But even in his fragile state, his ears twitched at the sound of Jack's voice. That connection hadn't faded. Halvorson examined Sam with practiced hands. Her expression shifted from clinical detachment to something more troubled the deeper she looked. "He's severely underweight, dehydrated, old fractures that didn't heal properly. And these scars." She paused, glancing at Jack. "This dog's been through hell." Jack swallowed hard. "His name's Sam. We served together in Afghanistan. He was declared missing in 2013. I never believed he was dead." Halvorson looked up sharply. "This is that Sam?" Jack nodded, his voice hoarse. "Yeah, he came back." There was a silence in the room, thick with unspoken emotion. Silas leaned against the wall, arms crossed, watching with narrowed eyes. "Any idea how he survived all these years?" he asked. Halvorson shook her head. "Could have been taken in and abandoned. Or he wandered. He's been on the streets for a while, judging by the wounds and weight loss. But this?" She pointed to the faint military tattoo still visible on Sam's inner ear. "This is unmistakable. He's yours." Jack didn't reply. His hand never left Sam's fur. The rain outside had stopped, but the cold still lingered. Halvorson hooked up fluids and started a slow drip. Sam flinched slightly, then relaxed. Jack watched every movement, every breath. "Is he going to make it?" he finally asked. Evelyn looked him dead in the eye. "If you had found him a week later, I'd be giving you a very different answer. But he's here now. You brought him in just in time. He has a chance." Jack exhaled, the weight of those words sinking in. A chance. That's all he ever wanted for both of them. She moved to the back of the clinic, grabbing a blanket and tucking it gently around the dog's body. "Let him rest. I'll monitor him through the night. You can stay if you want." Jack didn't hesitate. "I'm not leaving him again." Silas looked over, a rare softness in his voice. "I'll grab us some coffee." Jack nodded but didn't move. He leaned forward, resting his forehead against Sam's. "I thought I lost you," he whispered, and Sam, barely awake, let out a soft, familiar sigh. The clinic was quiet now, save for the soft beeping of machines and the gentle hum of a ceiling fan spinning overhead. Jack hadn't moved from his spot beside Sam. The shepherd lay wrapped in the blanket, breathing more steadily now, but still weak. His eyes opened occasionally, always landing on Jack's face, as if needing to make sure he was real. Jack reached over and brushed his hand down Sam's side, feeling every ridge of bone beneath the fur. "We've both changed," he murmured. "But you still knew me." The quiet gave Jack space to think, which wasn't always a blessing. Memories crept in, fragments he had buried long ago. The desert heat, the adrenaline of patrols, that final mission, the ambush. He saw flashes of the insurgent ambush that tore through their convoy. Screams, gunfire, sand filling his mouth. Sam running into the smoke after a wounded soldier, then disappearing. They searched for days. But in the chaos, dogs were often declared gone too soon. Command closed the file, but Jack never could. Dr. Halvorsen returned quietly, holding a worn file folder in her hands. "Jack," she said, sitting across from him, "I pulled your old military vet file from our archives." She laid it on the table between them. "I thought it might help us track how he got here. But there's something odd." Jack raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" She flipped to a page and pointed to a note, barely legible, added in a different handwriting. "It says Sam was transferred 3 weeks after your injury to a private handler in state." Jack's blood ran cold. "That's not possible. I was told he was missing, presumed dead." Halvorsen's face was pale. "Someone signed off on it. The paperwork is vague, but there's a name." She hesitated before saying it aloud. "Luther Grimsby." Jack's head snapped up. "No, that can't be right." Silas, who had just walked in with 2 coffees, froze at the sound. "Did you say Grimsby?" he asked. "That bastard's still around?" Jack clenched his fists, a storm rising in his chest. "He was a private contractor. Ruthless. Did black op stuff no one wanted to admit to. We crossed paths once. I never trusted him." Silas nodded slowly. If he had Sam, and just let him go. The implication hung in the air like smoke. Jack turned to Halvorsen. "Where is he now?" She looked uneasy. "Last I heard, he lives just outside of town. Off the grid. But Jack, going after him." "I'm not letting it go," Jack cut in. "If he did this to Sam, he's going to answer for it." Beside him, Sam stirred slightly, as if sensing that old ghosts had begun to wake. 2 days later, the skies above the Pennsylvania countryside were steel gray, heavy with the threat of more rain. Jack sat in the passenger seat of Silas's aging pickup truck, gripping the folded printout of the address Dr. Halvorsen had found. The name at the top, Luther Grimsby, felt like a live wire in his hands. Sam was resting at the clinic, still too weak to move, but Jack had made a quiet promise beside the dog's cot. "I'll find out what happened to you." Silas drove in silence, eyes scanning the tree-lined back roads. "This guy's dangerous," he finally said. "You know that, right?" Jack nodded. "He doesn't scare me," but truthfully his stomach was tight with unease. The last time he'd seen Grimsby, it was through the haze of a battlefield, both of them younger, angrier men. Grimsby had been known for cutting corners and ignoring orders if it meant a faster win. Rumors of animal mistreatment had followed him, but no one ever investigated too deeply. Contractors like him always slipped through cracks. They pulled up to a rusted gate surrounded by overgrown brush. Beyond it stood a decaying cabin nestled in the pine trees. The windows were boarded up, but smoke curled from a chimney. Someone was home. Jack pushed open the creaky truck door, his boots crunching over gravel. "Let me go first," Silas offered, but Jack shook his head. "This is mine." He approached the gate, heart pounding, and lifted the latch. The air smelled like damp wood and old secrets. Jack knocked hard on the warped wooden door. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, footsteps. Slow, heavy. The door opened with a loud groan. And there he was, Luther Grimsby, older but still menacing, built like a tank in a flannel shirt. His left eye was cloudy now, but the other glinted with suspicion. "Well, look what the war dragged in," he said, leaning on the doorframe. "Jack O'Toole. Still breathing. Huh." Jack's jaw tightened. "I'm not here for small talk." He held out a photo, a recent one of Sam at the clinic. "You had him. You signed the transfer. Where is the rest of his story?" Grimsby's smirk faded slightly. He glanced at the photo, then back at Jack. "You really came all this way? For a dog?" His voice held contempt, but there was something else too. Guilt, maybe, or fear. Jack stepped closer. "That dog saved my life. He bled for this country. You left him to die. Why?" Grimsby looked away, jaw clenched. And then, in a voice low and bitter, he said, "Because someone paid me to make him disappear." Jack's breath caught in his throat. "Paid? The word echoed in his mind like a gunshot. "What the hell are you talking about?" he snapped, stepping forward. "Who would pay you to make a military service dog disappear?" Grimsby didn't flinch. He just leaned back against the doorframe, eyes shadowed under thick brows. "You wouldn't understand," he muttered. "Back then, we were all just following orders. Some of us made decisions no one wanted to own." Silas had moved closer now, his hand hovering near his waistband, instinctively on edge. "You're deflecting," he said. "Tell the truth. You took Sam. Where did he go? What did you do to him?" Grimsby exhaled sharply, then pushed the door open wider. "You want answers? Fine. Come in. But I swear, you barge in here thinking I'm the only monster in this story. You're not seeing the whole picture." Jack hesitated, his gut screaming no, but his heart screaming find the truth. He stepped inside. The cabin was dim, cluttered with old gear, worn maps pinned to the walls, and a fireplace glowing low in the corner. Grimsby limped slightly as he moved to a chair. "After your unit got hit, they wanted to bury everything. The incident, the mission, you, especially the dog. Sam wasn't just any K9. He'd been part of an experimental program, aggression conditioning, high-risk field testing. Stuff they never put in the official records." Jack's fists clenched. He was loyal, brave. He never hurt anyone who didn't deserve it. Grimsby nodded slowly. "I know, but that wasn't the narrative they wanted. A dog that could think tactically, act on instinct faster than human command. He scared them. The higher-ups decided he was a liability. Too unpredictable. They didn't want him back on U.S. soil." Jack stepped closer. "So they ordered you to kill him?" Grimsby looked up, his face hard. "No, they paid me to lose him, out in the desert. But I couldn't do it." His voice dropped. "I drove him out to a remote village, paid a local to take him in. Figured it was better than putting a bullet in his head." Jack's stomach twisted. "And then what?" Grimsby looked away. "War moved on. We all did. I told myself I did the right thing. But I knew someday it'd come back. Guess today's that day." Jack stared at him, the weight of the past pressing heavy on his chest. Sam had survived against all odds, because one man made a coward's choice that became a quiet act of mercy. But questions still burned. Who ordered the disappearance? And why was it so important to erase Sam? Grimsby met Jack's eyes and said, "You want real answers? You'll have to look higher than me." The ride back to the city was silent, heavy with the weight of what Grimsby had confessed. Jack sat stiffly in the passenger seat, his mind racing. Silas gripped the wheel tightly, eyes locked on the road. The sky had darkened, clouds rolling in like bruises across the horizon. "He was scared," Silas finally muttered. "That man doesn't shake easy, but when you brought up who paid him," he cracked. Jack nodded slowly. "He wasn't lying. There's someone higher up, someone who wanted Sam gone for good. And I think I know who." Jack reached into the glove compartment and pulled out a worn, folded envelope. "I kept this after the discharge," he said, handing it to Silas. Inside was a faded letter stamped confidential, signed by a name both men hadn't seen in over a decade. Colonel Harlan Vaughan. Silas's brow furrowed. Vaughan? He was head of advanced canine deployment. Hardline bastard. Didn't care about soldiers, only results. Jack's jaw tightened. He's the one who signed off on our mission, and the report that declared Sam too unstable for return. I bet he ordered the disappearance. Back at the clinic, Sam was awake. Weak, but more alert than before. His ears perked up at the sound of Jack's voice, and his tail thumped faintly against the floor. Jack knelt beside him, eyes softening. "I found him," he whispered. "Grimsby. He didn't kill you. He gave you a chance. But there's more. Someone else was behind it." Sam rested his head on Jack's arm as if to say, "I know." Jack stayed there, silent, until Halvorsen entered the room with a concerned look. "You're not done, are you?" she asked. Jack looked up. "No, not yet." She hesitated. "If you go after Vaughan, you're going into dangerous territory. He's not just retired, he's connected. Private defense now. Big contracts. Protected by people who won't hesitate to silence this. Jack stood slowly. I don't care. Sam deserves justice. Not just for what happened to him, but for all the dogs they used and discarded. Silas walked in behind her. Then we go together. But carefully. We dig first. Find proof before we confront him. That night, they began searching. Military archives, encrypted emails Jack had saved, fragments of reports long forgotten, and buried in a digital folder Jack had once copied before discharge. They found it. A name. Project Raven 9. A program so classified even its budget was hidden. Sam's ID code was listed, and beside it, 3 words. Terminated Special Directive. Jack leaned back in his chair, heart pounding. They tried to erase him, like he never existed. And somewhere in D.C., Colonel Vaughan was still very much alive. The next morning, Jack stood in front of a tall, mirrored office building in Arlington, Virginia. The kind of place with no signs on the door and more cameras than windows. Silas was parked across the street in the truck, watching the entrance like a hawk. Jack took a slow breath. The man he had come to see had once controlled the fate of hundreds, both soldiers and service dogs. Now he sat comfortably behind polished desks and silent security guards. Colonel Harlan Vaughan had built a second career in the shadows of defense contracting. Inside the lobby, a receptionist greeted Jack with a polite but guarded smile. "Do you have an appointment?" she asked, eyeing his worn jacket and tired eyes. Jack placed a folder on the desk, copies of the Project Raven 9 documents they'd uncovered. "Tell Colonel Vaughan Jack O'Toole is here, and he has questions about a dog the government tried to erase." The receptionist blinked, hesitated, then made a call without a word. Minutes later, 2 men in suits appeared. "Follow us," one said curtly. Vaughan's office was exactly as Jack remembered the man. Cold, pristine, calculated. The colonel, now in his late 60s, wore a tailored suit and the same unreadable expression he'd worn on base. "Mr. O'Toole," he said without standing. "Didn't expect to see your name again." Jack dropped the folder on his desk. "Then you'll be even more surprised I found Sam. Alive." For the first time, something flickered in Vaughan's eyes. Discomfort, perhaps. "That dog was unstable," he said sharply. "You bonded with him too deeply. That was the problem." Jack leaned forward. The problem was never the bond. The problem was the cover-up. Raven 9 wasn't just a test program, it was a dumping ground. You used those animals until they were broken, then made them disappear when they didn't fit your agenda. Vaughan's tone turned icy. "You don't know the full scope of what was at risk. You were a soldier. You followed orders." Jack's voice didn't waver. "I was a soldier, but I'm still human. And so was he, in every way that mattered." The room went still. Vaughan folded his hands. "What do you want, Jack? A confession? An apology?" Jack took a step back. "No, I want the truth on record. I want the others who served with their dogs to know what happened. And I want Sam's service acknowledged officially. No more shadows." Vaughan didn't respond, but the silence was an answer. Jack turned and walked out, leaving the folder on the desk. Outside, the air felt heavier, but Jack's steps were lighter. And across town, Sam opened his eyes, as if sensing that something long buried had finally been brought into the light. A week had passed since Jack's meeting with Colonel Vaughan, but the weight of that encounter hadn't left him. The folder he left behind had made its way to the right inboxes, quietly, discreetly, but the silence afterward was deafening. There was no phone call, no press release, just a cold vacuum, as if the government hoped the truth would vanish like it always had. But Jack knew better now. He'd stopped waiting for justice to come from above. He would bring it himself. Sam had been improving steadily at the clinic. His appetite had returned, his gait stronger, though still limping. The scars remained, both inside and out. But when Jack visited each morning, Sam would greet him with a slow tail wag and that same calm, steady gaze. The look of a soldier who understood more than words could say. Jack often sat beside him in silence, hand resting on his fur. The war had taken many things, but this bond had endured. One morning, Dr. Halvorsen entered the exam room with a strange look on her face. "Jack," she said gently, "you should come outside." He followed her through the back doors into the narrow alley behind the clinic. What he saw made his breath catch. Lined up along the fence were 7 men and women, former handlers, veterans, and volunteers, each standing silently, some holding leashes, others holding framed photos. Service dogs, lost companions, fallen friends. Word had spread. Silas was there too, leaning on the fence, eyes hidden behind dark sunglasses. "They came because of Sam," he said. "And because of you." Jack felt his throat tighten as one by one, the visitors approached Sam's resting spot, each offering a quiet word, a hand on his head, a tear. One man left behind a medal, another a folded flag. A woman placed a small patch from her unit on the table beside him. It read, "Never forgotten." That afternoon, a local reporter showed up, someone from a small but respected veterans column. Jack didn't want fame. He didn't want attention. But when asked if he had a statement, he simply said, "He came back when no one else did." That's all the story anyone needs to hear. The article went viral the next day. The headline read, "Forgotten Soldier Reunited with Hero Dog, and the Truth They Buried." Late that night, Jack sat outside the clinic with Sam by his side. The stars were out, clear for the first time in weeks. "You did good, buddy," he whispered. "They're starting to remember." Sam let out a low, contented sigh, resting his head against Jack's boot. And somewhere deep inside, Jack felt something he hadn't felt in years: peace. Spring came quietly that year. The trees in Philadelphia bloomed in soft bursts of pink and white, and the air no longer carried the cold bite of winter. Jack had moved into a small house near the edge of town. Nothing fancy, but quiet, peaceful, with a backyard and a wide porch where Sam liked to rest in the sunlight. Life had slowed down, not because Jack was finished fighting, but because, for the first time, he didn't have to fight alone. Sam had good days and harder ones. The vet called it geriatric stabilization. But to Jack, it just meant time was running short. And yet, each morning, Sam pushed himself to his feet to greet him. Each night, he curled beside Jack's chair, like he had in the fields so many years ago. They were older now, both marked by war and memory, but they still had each other. And that was enough. The article about Sam had rippled further than anyone expected. Messages began arriving from across the country. Other handlers, families of dogs lost in combat, even civilians who had never known what military dogs went through. Donations flooded into Dr. Halvorsen's clinic. A local congressman reached out, and Jack found himself speaking at a veterans event, standing beside Sam as the crowd rose to their feet in applause. It wasn't fame Jack had wanted. It was recognition for Sam and for every forgotten companion left behind. One day, Jack received a package with no return address. Inside was a certificate sealed and stamped by the Department of Defense. It read, "Service Animal Citation for Exceptional Valor, Sergeant Sam, K9. No apology, no explanation, just a single line beneath the medal attached to the paper. Reinstated honorably." Jack placed it in a frame and hung it above Sam's bed. Weeks later, on a quiet Sunday morning, Sam didn't wake up. Jack found him curled under the porch, peaceful, as if he had simply fallen asleep watching the wind in the trees. Jack didn't cry at first. He just sat beside him, one hand resting gently on his back, eyes closed. The silence between them was deeper than grief. It was gratitude. They buried Sam under the oak tree in the yard, wrapped in an old flag, surrounded by the medals he had never received in life. Silas, Dr. Halvorsen, and a handful of veterans came to the small service. No speeches, just presence. Later that evening, Jack sat on the porch alone, looking out at the horizon. He didn't feel lost. He didn't feel angry. He just felt full, as if something long unfinished had finally been made whole. And in that stillness, he whispered, You made it home, soldier.